Hey, this is JD.
And Eli.
Introducing the GamePitch podcast.
A brand new podcast launching on the Project Nerd Network. JD, you want to tell everyone what we're all about?
Well, for starters, we're about games.
Yeah.
And pitches.
Yeah.
And game pitches?
This all makes sense.
Every Monday, we're going to cover the week's biggest gaming news. We're going to hand out some industry red cards and pitch a brand new game idea.
For our first few weeks, we'll drop new episodes Monday and Thursday to give you a larger sample of the series. I'm Eli.
And I'm JD.
Let's get to the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the GamePitch podcast. I am your co-host, JD, here with our other co-host, Elijah. Eli, you want to say hi?
Well, hello, listeners, and hello to you, J to the D. Can you ask me if I'm excited to pod today?
Are you excited to pod today?
3D, yes, I am.
Oh, my God, I'm so excited to pod, too. I want to say we have a packed show, and we do have a lot to talk about, but we really have one thing, dear listeners, that as you've listened over the last 5 episodes, you know what we're excited to pod about. Today is March 22nd, not even 3 days ago. Animal Crossing came out. Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Switch. I am so excited. Elijah, tell me, what is going through your head right now?
Actually, it's more what's going through your Islanders' heads, and it's me, because they keep talking about the Pocket Papa and how they can't get my name off the tips of their tongues.
My island is absolutely a buzz, all about Pocket Papa Saucy. I can't even begin to tell you just how excited we are to talk all about Animal Crossing, to talk about Tom Nook, capitalist raccoon extraordinaire. I'm indebted now. I will be indebted for the rest of my life. And fitting theme, right? As the real world is quarantined to their own sort of little islands, I am now also quarantined on another level on my Animal Crossing island. It's really fitting. It's a great escape from the real life, and then at the same time, it's kind of not, right?
Totally, and that's the bulk of our "What Are We Playing This Week" segment. I know we're going to be talking a ton about Animal Crossing. I had my Hat in Time review go up at Project Nerd, so that's what I've been writing, and I actually beat Ori and the Ori and the Will of the Wisp. So before we get to all of our fastballs and stuff, I just wanted to tell you, beat the game, and I'm sad, JD.
Okay, tell me why.
We talked about this last week. It just runs terribly on the original Xbox. So I know, I get it. I'm a poor. This is partly my fault, but I can't fathom a world where a first-party Xbox game or something that's backed this heavily by Xbox, it's, day one on Game Pass, this is one of the things they're pushing, can run as bad as it runs on the original Xbox One. It just doesn't make sense to me. And when I see those 10s out there, I'm like, frauds. Are you afraid of Microsoft? And if you give them a bad score, you're going to have your access revoked? You cowards! You cowards! But I do not cower.
But then on the other hand, all of those people giving them 10s probably have, better Xboxes than you do. So, I mean, maybe the 10 is warranted for the hardware they're running? No? No? You don't like that? Okay.
No, I don't like that. I have a full review coming, but I will say that this game treads a lot of the same ground in story and in gameplay. There's not much new, and the stuff that is new is so late in game that it's not able to be fully integrated into the game. I think that's my main problem with it. I have a lot of critiques. It's actually the lowest review score that I've given a game since I've been pro-conning for Project Nerd, and it hurts my heart because I actually really like the game. I had fun playing it, streamed the whole thing, but there's just so many problems from a stability standpoint, from gameplay mechanics, all that stuff, that it just stacked up to be a no from me. But I guess I'd recommend it if you have a real Xbox and you're not like me, and,
And you didn't fashion your Xbox out of spare parts that you had lying around from the last few generations.
From my desert island, some sticks and stones. Just Phil Spencer's just like, the heatsink's not going to hold up with just all of that. What are you doing?
Oh, I love it. Well, then I'll be excited to read your review on projectnerd.com. I know I'm looking forward to that. So you've been playing Ori. So I actually had this last week off, Monday the 16th. I was supposed to go out to GDC. Obviously, that was postponed, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so I just kind of took time off work to kind of catch up on some stuff around the house, little projects, and to play games. And so my intention was to start working through this backlog. And what actually ended up happening is Monday through Friday late afternoon, I played nothing but Call of Duty Warzone. And it wasn't intended. It wasn't something I meant to do, but I had some buddies who downloaded it and they're like, hey, a new battle royale, you should at least check it out for a couple rounds. And I was like, okay. I almost feel like I'm kind of getting battle royale out, but let me give it a shot. Let me see what it's all about. And so downloaded it and played a couple matches. And then before I knew it, it was the end of the week. And I really enjoy Call of Duty Warzone. I don't know. I don't want to say like Call of Duty fanboy, right? Because this is the first Call of Duty I played in a very long time, and it's not even like a proper Call of Duty. It's a battle royale, free to play. But I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of legs in terms of stuff to do. And it's also really engaging about how it's not sort of like a one and out type situation. There's a ton of ways to get back into the match. And so where one match in like, Fortnite or Apex might feel like a down and out if your team can't revive you right away, this feels like not only do you get the chance to like revive yourself in the gulag, but then like your team can buy you back. And then if you die again, like me, because I'm bad, your team can buy you back again. And they can just kind of keep doing that. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. Call of Duty Warzone, it was a great week. It was fun to play it. But now that Animal Crossing's out, it's basically dead to me. Dear listeners, definitely if you need to charge your Switch up, if you need to set it down for a little bit to get the battery back up, Call of Duty Warzone, pretty fun. Otherwise, let's move on to our fastballs.
So something that was pretty fun, and I guess this is in lieu of the entire world being shut down, that no one got to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the way that they wanted to. Yeah, it's sad stuff. Sega was still on these internet streets, and they had debuted Irish the Hedgehog, and I don't know if you watched the debut like video,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
he talks. Okay, Sega's perfect. They could do no wrong to me. Like, it's that level of cringe that you're like, actually, this is good. It's so weird that they have that level of cringe that is good, but they do.
Yeah, it's it is a little odd and it is a little cringy, and I really don't ever want to see a Sonic character design with this English accent and this Irish like dialect. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. And then at the same time, I am a fan. And I really do like it.
The artwork is like horrendous, but then I dig it. It makes sense. All I need now is I need him to do like a Dropkick Murphys style like cover of the Escape the City, like rolling around at the speed of sound. Like that's what I need.
Yeah, no, I want that too. Thank you. Speaking of things that I desperately need, where's the froggy chair?
Okay, so this is an early piece of Animal Crossing that we're going to get into.
Where is it, Elijah?
JD, look, there are people who have data mined. I don't know how true this is, but they looked in the code. Apparently, there's no froggy chair. I imagine this is going to be an event. I imagine they'll do an entire froggy chair Friday, and they'll just drop it. And everyone's going to be getting them chairs and sitting in them and squatting and moving around.
Is it possible that froggy chair could break the Animal Crossing economy?
I think so.
It has to, right? Well, first of all, powerful. What is the most amount of bells you would spend on a froggy chair?
50?
50 bells? Like 50K,
50K.
Oh my God. We were about to end this podcast early.
50K.
50K, that seems reasonable. Now, also consider that in the rotating shop, the Animal Crossing New Horizon Edition Switch. So you get the Switch from Nintendo as a gift when you first start up. And it's just like the basic red and blue Joy-Cons, right? The neon ones. But in the rotating shop inventory, they sell the Animal Crossing version, which is obviously gorgeous. It mimics the real one. And it sells for something like 35,000 bells.
Wow.
So for that little prop that has no function and is not an internet hype machine, it's, I predict Froggy Chair coming in at a cool 150 to 200,000 bells.
I can see that as a possibility. You're opening my mind to the world. But what you have to understand is I don't have the option of the Animal Crossing Switch on my island because I had the Mario Odyssey Switch. So me, like a bum, I'm back in the past.
I have the Pokemon Let's Go one, but then I look over at my wife who's playing on the Animal Crossing Switch that I ordered, and I see it in game, and it is glorious. It is beautiful.
It's almost as beautiful as Spawn in Mortal Kombat 11. Have you seen the trailer? Like how cool he looks?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, I love the character design, and I really like. I don't know. I mean, it's just cool to see. I really like seeing Spawn back in action, and I think players are really going to enjoy it.
And that's the thing I was going to ask you about, is that I don't think there's anything that they could put in Mortal Kombat that would make me buy the game and want to play it, but Spawn looks cool. It's like one of those things where you see the trailer, you're like, oh, this is fun. I hope the people who like Mortal Kombat like this, but if they want to put Froggy Chair in Mortal Kombat, then I'll buy it, and I'll beat everyone up as Froggy Chair. Yeah, all the way. Just do it.
I have no interest in buying Mortal Kombat. It's exactly what you just said. And it's exactly what we talked about a couple weeks ago with the Kingdom Hearts 3, the collection that they're doing. Looks
Mhm.
awesome. I bet fans are going to love it. They're going to buy it. Same thing here. Spawn, people are going to go crazy over Mortal Kombat, and people who are into that are going to buy it in a heartbeat. I am not in that group.
Well, people that are not in groups any longer are the players that used to go outside and play Pokemon Go, because clearly we're all staying inside. I think it's just been really interesting, not just specifically with Niantic and what they're changing in Pokemon Go to make it easier to play from home, but I think it's interesting just to see everyone adapting on the fly, whether it's work from home, devs, just a lot of people are really embracing the online culture. One of the places that I work, where we're doing an online auction, so we're going to maybe stream that
Mm.
through YouTube. It's just cool to
Oh,
see
that's
everyone
cool.
adapting in these times.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love Niantic. They make some cool stuff, and I think they're kind of pushing the envelope as far as AR tech goes. I love
Mhm.
Pokemon Go. I think we will all cherish that opening summer of Pokemon Go in our hearts forever. And I think it's great. There's still obviously a pretty big fan base of players, and they keep adding new generations to the game. And so I like to see that they are helping people cope, because I think you can go online and on Reddit and all sorts of places and see people who have posted stories about how Pokemon Go has helped them, live a happier, healthier life.
Mhm.
And so it's great that they are sort of embracing this idea of, hey, cool, like if we can make it easier for you to play at home, the incubators are cheaper, they have a lower cost, the incense is like 99% off, right? And it creates Pokemon to spawn around your house. It's
Mhm.
awesome. I'm really, really happy to see Niantic doing that. So kudos to them.
Yeah, it's a great move from them, but a bad move from someone that's adjacent to Niantic, which is basically Nintendo because Pokemon Go
Of course.
is Nintendo themselves. They're releasing Xenoblade Chronicles, and this is a rumor right now on the same day as Last of Us 2, which
Yeah.
would be a poor move. I don't care how many times Shulk is just in underpants in Smash Bros. He's not going to sell copies on Last of Us Day, right?
No chance. Anything. Well, okay. Let's kind of pro and con this, right? So you look at March 20th, Animal Crossing and Doom came out the same day, and I feel like they're both doing pretty good.
Mhm.
And I feel like maybe there's not a lot of crossover in those fan bases, and at the same time, I think there really is a lot of crossover. I don't know if you could say the same for Xenoblade fans and then Last of Us fans. Particularly, we've talked about it before, how Sony fans are kind of huge fanboys of the console and exclusivity. And so I
Mhm.
feel like anything launching along Last of Us 2 is not to say they're doomed, but that they will just perform really, really slow out of the gate. So I don't know. I'm not sure that's the best move. And I wouldn't be shocked to see if that launch date for Xenoblade gets moved up or gets delayed.
Yeah, and like you're saying, it's like kind of filling in a market gap, or just there's games that people want to get for the summer, and it
Right.
doesn't really matter like if they launch it up against it. I just think that that's a poor choice because
Sure.
maybe it could got some play. Because I guess Last of Us 2 fans are pretty far away from anime JRPG fans,
For
maybe,
sure.
but there may be crossover, but still just getting
Yeah,
buried by the all the news of Last of Us or all the hashtags of Last of Us seems
I
silly.
agree. I agree.
So since you're
Um,
the Call of Duty daddy, please
I'm
tell
the
us about our
expert.
next story. Yeah.
I'm the expert now after putting in roughly 20 hours of Warzone play over the last week. I am the definitive voice of Call of Duty. And so there's some rumors floating around for the next Call of Duty. And it's set kind of in the Cold War, Vietnam era is kind of what we're hearing. They're bringing back operators, which has been pretty popular in this newest edition of Call of Duty that's out now, and bringing back a zombie mode. All of that sounds pretty positive if you're a Call of Duty fan. I assume the multiplayer will play as it has played for the last 5 to 7 years. It's more or less unchanged, just with some different guns. Operators maybe shake it up a little bit. And yeah, I mean that's your Call of Duty news probably for the next 6 to 9 months. So moving on from there, something a little more controversial. Microsoft, they talked a lot this week about the new Xbox Series X coming out this holiday season. And one of the things they showed off is the expandable storage, which is bringing back, I don't know a better way to put it than it looks like memory cards. They
It
they
does,
look
which
they
is
look like
crazy.
small memory cards.
How are we jumping back?
So cool. This memory card is terabyte SSD. Fantastic, beautiful. I love it. It's a memory card, right? And then you contrast that up against Sony, who this week showed off some PS5 tech specs, and their upgradable storage is just pretty standard NVMe SSD, right? So just a little SSD stick that you could go buy at Best Buy. Pretty standard, which makes me think that the upgrade for it won't be too difficult. They've probably got some sort of ideas on how to implement that, and they're not hard to install. You just kind of click it into a slot, right? It's like
Mhm.
Legos for adults. How in the world does Microsoft
Are we
think these
here?
memory cards are a good idea? I don't get it.
It's that thing where it's just like, hey, here's the proprietary. Here's let's buy. You have to buy our version of this thing to
Yeah,
expand your. The Vita was so bad. I thought that the Vita killed memory cards forever because of how bad that was. What a snafu! I
exactly.
mean, they were just so hard to get. They were so expensive. They held nothing. And sure, these terabyte cards are going to hold a lot more. But when you
Sure.
have games just being 117 gigs just as a standard, then
Right.
that is what 10 games at most on these memory cards. So you're going to have like 6 of them in a stack.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then what happens? Is your save data cloud? What if it's not and it's local and it's on that memory card and then you lose that memory card? Like, I don't want to be the guy that has to re-download 100 something gig game and start over just in case if I lose this. Like, think about residential data caps. Like, sometimes
Mhm,
downloading
mhm.
these games are bumping you up against that cap already. So now what? Like, I got to swap around my card and like, I'm not a fan.
No, JD, what happens to the game pitch slumber parties where I come to your place, I leave my memory card there, and then I'm stranded and I just can't I
Well,
can't
I mean,
play.
it is a real thing, and then I go into your memory card and delete everything because
Yeah,
that's what you
that
do. I mean,
no, man, that is a bumpy situation. I am upset.
speaking of bumpy things, one thing I do like is the new controller that Microsoft showed off for the Xbox Series X with the upgraded D-pad, and then I don't know if they're calling it this or if it's just sort of the internet coined the bumpy triggers. I like that. It's kind of like this closer to the Elite Series Xbox controller with the hair triggers that they have on there that have that extra
Mhm.
sort of notch that you can feel when you're pulling it. Something similar to that on these new ones, and I think that's super cool. I love that.
Yeah, so they have that texture, that raised goose pimples to the bumpers and the triggers now, which I think looks really cool. And it was so weird that they just dropped all of these on Twitter as like a series of videos, just like, hey, look
Yeah.
at this thing up close, look at this other thing up close. Oh yeah, ooh, that's so hot. And then when they showed the State of Decay video, where it's just like, look at how quick these load times are, I was like, I don't
Oh.
know, that load time doesn't look that quick to me.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So both Microsoft and Sony did that this week where they're like, this is the future. And like they showed a game where it's like, what would normally take you 10 seconds to load now takes 3. And everyone's like, woo! It's kind of like, yes, I get it. It's 7 seconds. Technically, that's impressive as developers dig in and learn to optimize. It is going to be amazing, but kind of like on a
Yeah,
Twitter reveal video, I don't know if it's like
I'm
that
out.
exciting. I'm kind of like, okay, that's neat. Cool.
And I didn't think it was neat. I was like, what? This is why I'm supposed to buy your console? What are you talking about? Get
Yeah,
out of here.
exactly.
Just some
uh,
final quick news stories to throw at you guys in our fastball section. If you don't know about Temtem, it is a online MMO Pokemon RPG. So I think everyone in the Pokemon fan base has always wanted a Pokemon MMO, and this is a first step towards that. They're really changing a lot of the things that have been age old, kind of concrete Bible things for the Pokemon series. They're really just it's Pokemon. It's copy paste Pokemon, and they're adjusting some things. It's online and it's in early access, so it's not a full release yet. And there's even like doors that just say like under construction. You can't even go in them. But there's a lot of interesting mechanics. It's
mhm.
always 2-on-2 battles. Any move that your creatures learn, they just go into their learned move list, and you can slot in the 4 that you want at any time. There's a lot of awesome mechanics, and then also because it's always 2-player battles, you can actually travel the whole game with a friend and co-op it, so it's pretty cool. I think people should check it out.
We can't stress this enough. It's not technically Pokemon, but it is Pokemon, okay? Just
Mhm.
just know that it's called Temtem. You're not catching Pokemon, you're catching creatures in the game, but it is Pokemon in its core essence. For any legalese that we need to put out there, it isn't technically Pokemon, but if you're familiar with Pokemon, it's basically what it is.
1,000,000,000%.
A 1,000,000%. Moving on, GDC this week announced new dates for a shorter summer event that they're doing. So GDC Summer, it's going to take place 3 days in August. Looks like they're going to kind of try to cram a lot in there. They're going to do a different type of expo floor that's going to be a little more ad hoc, and I think they're going to kind of mix the learning into the expo somehow. Sounds pretty cool. The passes are obviously cheaper because it's not a full GDC event. And those go on sale now, and the event is August 4th through 6th. So should be pretty cool. Wrap it up. You have something to talk about with Xbox Game Pass, right?
Yeah, so I learned this week recently via my roommate that when you have Xbox Games Pass, there is like a list of chores that you can do, daily activities that earn you points that can be redeemed for things like Taco Bell gift cards, Starbucks gift cards, a variety of an additional month of Game Pass for a certain amount of points, gift cards to the Xbox store, discounts, all these weird things. But essentially, you're just, I guess it's part marketing ploy, part play this game. So maybe you buy it or maybe you download it kind of thing. But he downloaded Plague's Tale and he played it. He just had to throw 5 rocks at people and he got points. They're giving people points for Googling things through Bing. I don't even know that searching is the word because my brain just says I'm going to Google it.
You're
So
binging it.
yeah, if you search through Bing, you get points too. It's just so, I didn't know this was a thing. And I'm so ingrained into gaming just like you are. I didn't know how I missed this, that Games Pass lets you earn points from doing menial tasks in games.
I had no idea that this was a thing. So we talked about this really briefly before we started recording. I had not ever heard this before. I did not know that you could. I mean, I've heard before that you could get the points if you binged things, and you could like accumulate them if you use that search engine. Neat. I guess it makes sense that they would do this in games as well. But you know what? Like, it's what we just talked about with that whole memory card thing. Like, can you imagine downloading like a 40 gigabyte game to throw 5 rocks in the game? You have no interest in continuing to play it. You just want your points so you can get your next cheesy gordita crunch for cheap, right? And I don't know. I mean, kudos to the people who could do this, but I don't know if I would ever do this. So
What percentage of your data cap did it cost you for your internet provider, and what percentage of your power did it cost, like to generate those points? Like, I'm just trying to do the cost benefits analysis and just see what was more, plus your time too, which is precious. But I think it's all about getting people to kind of jump in and try things, because I never knew what Plague Tale was. It looks kind of cool and interesting. Never going back to it because of a thing that happens in the first 5 minutes. It's a spoiler. I can say it if you want, but for
no spoilers.
Okay.
We don't
Okay.
like to do that around here.
Okay. All right. Well, just if you like things, don't play the first 5 minutes of Plague Tale. Have someone else do it.
Oh, well, I think that about wraps up our fastballs. Maybe not quite as fast this week, but lots of fun stuff to talk about that we didn't want you guys to miss. Moving on, it's the moment you've been waiting for. It's the moment I've been waiting for. It's the moment so much of the internet has been waiting for. We're going to talk about Animal Crossing.
Can't wait.
We're going to talk a lot about Animal Crossing, so you could probably skip ahead about 15, 20 minutes if you don't like Animal Crossing. Also, if you don't like Animal Crossing, why don't you go ahead and unsubscribe from this podcast? We don't want your kind around here. We're not fans of that. So
Look, I welcome you. Look, JD, I welcome the people that don't like Animal Crossing, because we have to have differing opinions in this world to get to discover new things, to find new places. Look, I'm part of the pear pack, and if I was just like, oh, I live on an island of pears, and if I was just like, oranges, ew, get out of here, unsubscribe to my island. See, I would never have oranges that sell for 500 bells a piece, JD. See, you have to be accepting of new things.
Look, you're right. I'm sorry, everyone. Please don't unsubscribe. We really do want you here. And the long-term strategy is we're just going to wear you down until you eventually play Animal Crossing. So let's talk about Animal Crossing. So to start, not shockingly, it's getting amazing reviews, right? So GamesBeat 9.5 out of 10, Game Informer 9 out of 10, IGN 9, Metro 9, Destructoid 9.5, GameSpot gave it an 8. We'll let it pass and we'll just pretend that that's an 8 out of 9 or something. I don't know. So everyone's giving it amazing reviews, and rightfully so. So you downloaded it right away at midnight, I assume. I downloaded it right away at what was 10 p.m. my time, midnight Eastern, which is when it went live. So let's talk about it. Tell me so far, how has your experience been? Just talk about Animal Crossing.
Yeah, man. 2 things just real quick. One, I did not download it at midnight. I had that thing preloaded a week early. And also, I updated it the day before because the update came out. I saw it on Twitter. So I did not get it at midnight. I was already ready to go minute 1.
Okay, hold on. Semantics. Obviously, I had it preloaded too. I just meant when it unlocked. Were you playing it at midnight? Why do you have to do this? Not in front of all of our listeners.
The other thing I was going to say is I actually don't know how it's possible to review this game, especially like a lot of those big places, like of course in IGN and GameSpot, Destructoids, they're going to have staffs that can throw multiple people at it, but there's so many things that are buried in this game that I don't think you're going to even fully experience for a year. There are things that you have to have multiple people to like you visiting my island or going to other islands. I think that's really
Sure.
integral to the score number two.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it's hard for a mid-level review site to review this game because there's so much, like you need like 6 early access codes so that you can all do stuff together and
Right.
contribute. It just one thing, I get it. I think it deserves the scores that it got, but also I feel like it's really not irresponsible, but it's just weird to throw out a review for a game that hasn't even been out for, 4 or 5 days, that is all about the long haul. That seems really weird to me.
I get that. I agree to some level, right? I think you can review it if you frame it. Maybe if you're comparing like early game New Horizons to early game like New Leaf, right?
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe there's a lens that you can try to frame the game around. I think you can also, accurately review things like how well does it run on console? Like are on the console itself, right? Is the quality of life changes that they've implemented, like, are they actually good or do they take a step
Hmm.
back in the series,
Hmm.
right? So I think, yes, you're 100% right. There are things that I think Nintendo has lined up for us as fans, Froggy Chair, that we have not seen yet and that they're going to drop on us randomly. And it's going to be great and it's going to increase or decrease depending on the player, their experience and thus their score. But I definitely think like there is a way to look at it early wise and say, cool, like early game, what they've done, what they've shown, what we know is in the pipeline. Yes, we can give it the score. It's
You I think you
go
said the crux thing there, though. You said the crux thing that they're weighing it against the history of the rest of the series. And I
right.
think that's really unfair to judge a game by its predecessors and not by
Mm.
its current one. And I know this, of course, this happens across pop culture because Mass Effect Andromeda, maybe in a bottle, would have been more warmly received. And this is just an example. Like when it's being compared to ME3 and ME2 and all the other games, but it just seems weird that I do think that they're reviewing this game off of its potential because they know where it can go because they haven't seen where it can go. Unless, of course, they're like me and they're Doctor Whoing and they're traveling all over the place and going to Christmas and Halloween. And I get it. Like I understand that, but it's just a strange thing. I did want to bring it up.
No, it's good. I
The next little piece that I wanted to throw at you is this is, and we're old school Animal Crossing fans, right? Like you
Oh
played the
yeah.
first one on GameCube.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I've loved Animal Crossing my whole life, and what's really cool with this one is we're getting a lot of people that are trying it for the first time
Oh
because of
yeah.
social media. I think that this time that it came out more than ever was a really good benefit
S-
for Nintendo because
Sure.
millions of people are tweeting and they're on social media about it, and I think it really forced a lot of people who were never going to play Animal Crossing to play it because of
Yeah.
our specific circumstances this weekend with the
Yeah, no.
lockdowns everywhere.
Oh, I totally agreed. Like, I remember when they announced that it was going to be delayed past holiday, and I was pretty bummed, right? And I feel like any Animal Crossing fan was bummed, right? But at the same token, like in the spirit of supporting developers, right? I think that was happening around the same time the conversation of crunch was going crazy. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later, right? So I think everyone kind of looked at it and said, hey, look, we love Nintendo, we love Animal Crossing, and this conversation about making sure developers aren't getting crunched out is important. So take your time, make this an amazing game. And
Hmm.
so inadvertently, that delay, like you said, has made the timing almost perfect, right? We're in this real world context of all this terrible, crazy stuff is going on, right? This game is truly an escape. And it is such a breath of fresh air, like compared to all the other games I feel like that I've been playing or have wanted to play, and just like the context of its launch has just been really, really great. And you're right. Like, I feel like you have a whole bunch of people that are cooped up in their houses with their Switches who may not have been Animal Crossing fans before, maybe probably knew the game, right? Because they've probably owned other Nintendo consoles, but maybe never really latched on. And it's just this amazing, like, coincidence almost of, hey, I'm cooped up at home. Hey, Animal Crossing is coming out. And the voices of the fans are just being amplified to the level of, I'm going to check this game out. And I think we're going to get a lot more Animal Crossing fans into this generation that will become huge for the next generation too.
Yeah, I think there are millions of people that are seeing this game one because it's like the number one thing on Twitter, and we're
Oh,
both
yeah.
on Twitter a lot, so
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
we're seeing a ton of it. But I didn't think that I could get so much more enjoyment from the game based off the social commentary that's happening around the game too. So like I'll play the game for a bit in handheld mode, then I'll check Twitter, I'll see some jokes, I'll retweet those. It's just a really
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the review score should be higher because of how much social enjoyment I'm getting out of it, and that's something that there's a lot of complications because when I'm reviewing a movie, I talk about a lot what my theater experience was like. So like a crying
Yeah.
kid in Frozen 2 when Olaf melts or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I talk about that. And if there's a kid who's losing his mind who has to leave the theater and I can't hear the movie, I always talk about my personal experience with it because I think
Yeah.
that at the end of the day is the most important thing. But I think that the review scores for Animal Crossing should be higher because of how much social talk there is about it. I do think it has legs, and there's just celebrities and people that you would never expect playing the game just being like, oh man, what is this thing? And it's so funny to me because we're people who've played Animal Crossing always that we know these things, and people are just like, oh man, why does this Tom Nook guy want our money? Or like, this is a lot of money. And we're just like, yeah, guys, we know. We've known.
I've been in debt to Tom Nook since I was 15. All right, I know.
And so it's really cool just to see the whole world kind of taken over. And I guess it's the world that we're looking at too, because we follow a lot of game people and things like that. But it's
Right.
just really cool to see a lot of people embracing something I already love. And then
Yeah.
also just the jokes, man. The jokes and the creativity are through the freaking roof. The God of War stuff that I've seen in
Oh my
game
gosh,
has
there's
been
been some
blowing my
amazing ones.
mind.
Yeah, I follow a bunch of people who work at Bungie, and so they've been doing some amazing custom designs of like the Hunter Titan Warlock symbol. Someone made a Shaxx like 8-bit figure that you could put on like wall art or like your shirt. That's absolutely phenomenal. There's so much amazing stuff. So to your last point, right? You had said you think the reviews should be higher. Why don't you so let's dive in. Tell me about what you've been enjoying so far. What have you been doing? I know that you are taking the opposite approach from me where you're time hopping and I'm playing it kind of
Yeah, straight up, which is fine. Yeah, yeah, we have different goals.
yeah,
Yeah, I do want to say just one final thing,
of
just
course.
about the social thing, just real quick, and then we'll dive
Yeah,
in.
of course.
Just it's crazy to me that Animal Crossing has 4 games, like only,
Yeah.
and that it has more people talking about it than any Final Fantasy game will get to people talk about it. Even 7 being their biggest one, I don't think
Right.
7 will take over the social media world like this. And Final Fantasy has way more than 15 games. They have all these spin-offs, all this stuff, but it's just
Oh,
the
oh yeah.
franchise weight between just there being 4 Animal Crossings and there being well over 40 Final Fantasy games. It's just like that seesaw is crazy to me. So hats
Yeah.
off to Nintendo. Bravo. Let's jump into this review
Talk
or
about it.
talk review. Yeah, essentially. So I sit on stumps a lot when I'm trying to dig them up, JD, and it's a problem. And I wish I could fix my thumbs.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? You chop down a tree, it's a
Yep.
stump, and I'm just like, cool, let me get the stump out of the ground. And I
And then you just sit
sit
down on
on
it and you're just
every
casually
time.
hanging out.
And the way that your villager like pivots to look at you, just like it's not a I'm mad, it's a I'm disappointed face. It's just like, well, you did it. You're the
It's
idiot.
judgment. It's
Yeah,
straight
it's
judgment.
full judgment. Oh my gosh.
I yes, that is perfect. The other thing that I always do is like I'll have my net out and I'll be running up to like talk to one of my villagers and I'll hit a second too soon and smack them with the net and then like I'm just like, oh my god, like I am the worst neighbor ever in this game. Like, so I've been trying to consciously remember when I want to go talk to someone to put all my tools away.
Mm.
Ugh, it's the worst. I hate making my villagers mad at me.
I I actually have shot multiple presents out of the sky with the slingshot, and they've fallen in the water because I always forget that's a thing. I've lost at least 3 or 4 of them, and I feel stupid. It's so funny because you're deserted on this island, so it's just us there. So it's typically just me seeing myself be stupid.
I have really loved the stuff coming out of the gifts though. Like I've gotten some amazing clothes. I've gotten some amazing like decorations for my house. Last night I shot one down and got a bag of 30,000 bells, which just like
That's
made my jaw drop. So I mean, the gifts are amazing, but yes, you're 100% right. The very first one I shot fell directly into the river. So the very first balloon I saw that I had the ability to shoot down dropped directly into the river, and I was so mad at myself.
yeah, it's just like, oh, I did this. It was me. I know.
Yep, I
There's no
know.
one else to blame but me.
So I'm pacing it out, kind of day by day. Not to say that I'm not like rushing, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
absolutely trying to like get as much done every day as I can, so I feel like I can advance day by day quickly. But at the same time, I'm not time hopping. And I'll say this too. I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, time hops like cheating. The thing I'll say about that is I don't know if you really can cheat this game, right? I feel like the game is designed to be played the way you want to play it. And so like
Hmm.
if you want to time hop and that's how you enjoy it, cool. right? Like, play it that way. I'm going to play it pure and just take it day by day. Like, I'm not in a rush to get these buildings done. I'm really enjoying like doing it one day at a time. Like, not to say I'm not antsy for my museum to get done already, but like I'm just kind of cruising around. So why don't just curiosity, like why did you choose to be a time traveler? Why are you playing it that way?
It's just habit. I've always played it that way, so I've never had a problem with the time hops. And honestly, I was hoping to see Rossetti. Like, he's my favorite character in Animal Crossing, so it was partly that. Uh, I think that's a big part of it. Now, and this is a thing. Like, so, and if people aren't really familiar with the tactic, it's basically I am turning my game clock in my Nintendo Switch ahead in time so that I can have buildings be built, because it takes real time. And that's one of the biggest things with Animal Crossing, is that there's a real world clock that matches your time where you are if you set it
Right.
that way. Or you can, of course, and I'm actually even in the southern hemisphere too, and I did that so that my friends who came to my island could get different bugs and different fruit. Like, I did that
Right.
on purpose. But for me, I think it's just because I want to be able to play the parts of the game I enjoy most immediately. So
Sure.
that's, I think, the main reason why I did it. It didn't affect too much for me. It doesn't, like, it's not like there's someone that says, haha, you've ruined time, you've done it, you're bad. Like, no one like slaps your hand. But I don't know, I just, the parts of the game that I enjoy involve time skipping because I want to get to the things that I like. For instance, I have upgraded my house twice already, but I I still have flimsy tools.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I actually have multiple copies of the tools in my inventory because I don't care to, like, I have like 3 axes and like 3 shovels if they're all flimsy. So
That's perfect. Yeah, see, and that's cool. Like, I definitely, another one of my friends, when he was waiting for his physical copy to get delivered on Friday, was saying that his girlfriend is a total like time traveler, and she's just gonna do it. And like, she was looking up, like, IGN published a guide that was like how to get 1,000,000 bells time traveling, right? And like, she's all about this stuff. And then he's on the other side where he's like, I just want to play it normal. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, hey, look, the good news is, like, you guys have your own switches, you have your own islands. Like, what she's doing doesn't have to impact you at all, and vice versa. And I think that's an important thing for people to remember, is just like,
create those boundaries in your relationship.
that's right. Just don't open your airport up. Like, so, play your game the way you want.
Hatches are
Leave
not
me
open.
alone.
No, it's like he should write a book instead of the. I know the Time Traveler's Wife is a very popular book, but now he can do the Time Traveler's Husband, the sequel. Just
an,
make it.
an Animal Crossing story.
The game's great. So we haven't, I mean, there's so much we could talk about. I think we should talk about our personal decoration styles that we're doing with our houses. But I started out with Biff and Cat. Biff is a hippo who's all about fitness and he likes to work out and get jacked. And Cat is the coolest cat around. She has my exact vibe and aesthetic for what I have in my dream wife. So thank you, Cat. We're just BFFs. There's nothing romantic between me and Cat. She's
Of course
a cat.
not.
I'm a human.
Of
We're
course.
not about that like furry life.
I
But
know.
Cat is really making my days on my island really enjoyable. Who do you have?
I have Sheldon the squirrel, who's also, he calls me cardio and loves to work out, and he's this buff little squirrel. He's the best. And then I have Agnes, who is amazing. Probably, I don't have to dive in too much. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know who Agnes is, but she's so nice. And the first day I was on the island, I got stung by a wasp, and she gave me the medicine recipe immediately and just made my life so much better. I love my island mates that I have. They just upgraded to houses right a day behind me, so that's exciting. Yeah, what have I been doing? So I've spent a lot of time popping around friends' islands. So I think now my island officially has a tree for every type of fruit. So I think I'm done there. I'm getting everything grown now. Let's see. I've got an absolute massive stack of stuff piled up outside the museum waiting for it to open so I can get my donations on. I caught tarantulas last night, which are terrifying, but they also are broken in terms of the money you get from them. Have you seen this?
I have seen Spider Island online and people just freaking out about the tarantulas. Yes, it's like, I think you can get like 160K from them.
They sell for 8,000 bells a piece. So
Whoa.
if you upgrade your inventory, right, with your Nook Miles Plus, and then you go to like Spider Island, and let's say you bring 6 tools, right? So you have one of each basic tool. That would leave you with 24 spots free. And so 24 of those spiders then. So if you have 24 of them and they sell for 8,000 a piece, you'd walk away with 192,000 bells.
Wow, JD, math homework. What is this? The PlayStation 5 reveal? Jeez.
I'm sorry. It's just the terrible habits that I've developed from playing a ton of Stardew Valley have started to kind of trickle their way into my Animal Crossing world, where I'm like, how do I min max this as much as I can? And then I'm like, wait. This is a different game. It's a slower pace. People here love me. They love it when I give them gifts. Unlike Stardew
Yeah,
Valley, where everyone hates me. Like,
that's that's like
like
my favorite tweet I saw. It's just like Animal Crossing shows off fish, everyone in town claps, and then it's just like Stardew Valley spends 8 months growing carrots, gives person carrot. I hate it.
and it's so true. It's
Yeah.
so I'm like, so part of me is like, oh my god, like how many spots do I have? How much does this stuff sell for? And then the other half of me is like, whoa, wait, like I'm just gonna go fish, like, and just casually get things, and like I'm just gonna casually pick some flowers and like try to catch a bug. But then like that creeping part of my head is like, yeah, but if you didn't do that, like why don't you just go
Uh,
farm tarantulas all night and get a bunch of money? And I'm like, oh, I hate this. I gotta get it out of my head.
I know I sent you that picture I screenshotted of the out. Oh no, I tweeted it out. The stew thing. The
Oh.
hey, there's a yeah. So we're all trying to social distance, be safe, and escape in Animal Crossing. And one of my villagers immediately got sick, and it was just like, oh gosh, Stu caught the plague, and I was like, Stu, no. And I walk into his house, and the first thing he does is sneeze right in my face, like right in my open mouth. He's just like a chew,
Oh.
and I'm just like, thanks, Stu. He's like, want to get me some medicine? I'm like, sure, I'll need some too, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we're all going to need to. Anyway, that is why they closed the airport on your island, and it's actually quarantined right now. So
I see. I see.
I'll see you in 14 days.
So, what's your decorating style like in your house? Do you have like a thing you go for, a motif?
Yeah, it's called Garbage Man, where I am a garbage human and I just put everything on the floor. Okay, in all seriousness, I don't have a ton of decorations yet. One of the things I really want to do is play around with the pro design more. I haven't really
Mhm.
spent a lot of time with it, but I've seen some absolutely amazing things that people are posting on like Reddit and Twitter. The other thing I don't have yet is Nook's Cranny. I don't have the shop yet.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm also missing like access to a lot of new DIY recipes. I don't have like a lot of the expanded store, which is fine. Like I'm not complaining about it.
yeah. Because you'll get it at some point.
Yeah, I'll get it tomorrow, actually. I finished the stuff this morning for it, so I'll have it tomorrow. All that being said, if you walked into my house right now and had to peg down an aesthetic, according to the Happy Home Academy, I'm a B, so not bad. Got a
Mm.
B score. And for that, my gift was a vacuum cleaner, which I think is also telling in what they think about my house.
Do you know what I did with the vacuum cleaner, JD?
Did you sell it?
No, I put it outside, and it is my robo gyroid. It is the year 3030. The humans have died.
Oh my
Nothing
God.
exists but the gyroids. Where's the gyroids at? I miss those little fire hydrant sponge dudes.
Hey, they might events, right? Like Nintendo has promised a lot of DLC over the course of this game, and given their track record of supporting Animal Crossing post-launch and what they did for Pocket Camp on iOS and Android, I absolutely believe that will come. So I think we'll see a lot of stuff.
So I need to tell you a little bit about my inner exterior, or sorry, my interior of my household. It's
Please.
very it's like an art gallery. I'm trying to do like the banana being taped to the wall with duct tape thing. I'm trying to like make it look like a faux art studio. So I have like graffiti walls, and then
Love
I
it.
have like uh, a large lamp that's just shining on a slide that you can't slide down, one of the elephant ones, but it's like black and orange. I did the custom colors on it.
Oh,
And then I have like just a magic set on the ground. It's just like, what is this where the magic happens? I don't know.
oh,
I have a
that
pair of
is nice.
jeans on the wall, just like jeans.
Perfect.
Try them.
Perfect.
Like,
I
I'm
love
trying
this.
to make an art exhibit in my home.
I love it. I am a huge fan. I'm absolutely going to put memes all over my house. Just so many memes that I've seen people recreate in pixel art form. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, like we could talk about Animal Crossing all day. I mean, I could still. Is there anything else you want to say? Should we wrap this up and move on to the next thing? Or
I think Animal Crossing is perfect, and we're gonna probably be talking about it almost every episode for a while here, just because it'll be in our "What Are We Playing?" Because we're gonna obviously continue to keep playing it.
yeah, I think you'll continue to hear. Like we've said, we've talked about this a lot. What you can expect is a little bit of Animal Crossing. This pod is gonna kind of be a little Animal Crossing for a while. And hopefully that's okay with everyone. Yeah. So I think we'll move
Yeah.
on. Let's we have one more kind of big news story I think we want to talk about. So
Yeah, some Sony stuff. There was a big tech reveal this week.
well, you know what? And actually one other thing I want to talk about really briefly. We hinted on it a little bit during the Animal Crossing segment where we talked about how they delayed the game to avoid crunch.
Yeah.
And so one big Twitter thread that has been making the rounds this last week and a half or so was from one of Naughty Dog's former like lead animators who basically talked a bit about how the crunch cycle at Naughty Dog is just terrible and it burned out a lot of their upper more senior talent. And so then to make up for that, they hired a bunch of junior developers, which threw the ratio off from junior to senior devs. And then to make that even worse, they weren't hiring a lot of junior game devs. They were hiring a lot of film animators who like obviously are incredibly talented and it's not to take away from them, but it's not their medium of expertise. And so it created this huge imbalance of like junior talent to senior talent, which created even longer developer times because then they had to like teach these film animators that they brought in. Like it was just really, really terrible situation, which sucks because
Yeah.
I love Naughty Dog.
Me too. And it's a weird thing to have their, personal information like aired out in the street like this, because this was like Twitter drama. And Neil Druckmann himself even was like, he posted like, hey, we have the best animators. I'm proud of this. Not only them, the production staff. So Neil Druckmann did come out in defense of his people, which was really cool. And Neil Druckmann's a great follow on Twitter. If you don't follow him, he's one of the godfathers over there at Naughty Dog. And he's going to be involved with the series, and he's just, I think he's just an all-around cool person. He just tweets
Yeah.
about good things and puts good into the world typically.
Right.
But like you
Typically.
said, it's strange to have this aired out in the streets, and it's very weird. I mean, I guess that the headline from this is that just they don't retain the talent, and the guy even said in his tweets, the tweet storm that came out, that a more senior team would have had this game out a year ago,
Yeah.
which is like that's the thing that hits you in the head, where you're
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, oh man. And that's Sony's bottom line. That's them paying extra people. Maybe this is like an investment in the studio because these people will eventually be of the quality or at the pace or speed
Sure.
that Naughty Dog needs them to be, because they're building this is like a farm system almost. But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just contrast it with I don't speak any ill to Sony. Like I'm not a big Sony gamer typically. Like obviously the exclusives, there's so many that you have to just like buckle in and get. And
yeah,
they're really known for that at this point. But otherwise it's far from my console of preference. And so it just kind of sucks to see, like, we talked about Nintendo and how the Animal Crossing team was like, hey, we need time. And it was like, okay, no problem. Like, here's time. Like, delay the game, make it the way we want. And
mm-hmm.
then you kind of flip side this where it's like, what's going on over at Naughty Dog? And you feel like that's the kind of thing where Sony would have got involved. And then the scary part is like, what if they did, to your point, right? And it was like, all right, well, like if you need time to churn out this game and crunch it out with these junior devs, like, okay. But then it's like it doesn't mesh well when you have this former employee who's kind of given this account, which is really like raw and personal. It doesn't feel like that really is how Sony approached it. And so it's just kind of a bummer to hear that, where you would hope that with this first party studio that they own and that they've cultivated this incredible franchise with, that they would have protected the talent that took the time to build it in the first place. And it doesn't feel like that's what happened.
It's unfortunate. It's sad. We don't know the truth. We're just getting different pieces
Yeah.
here and there.
It's
Maybe
all
they do
rumors,
have a
right?
bunch of yeah, exactly. Maybe they do have a bunch of senior talent that they are retaining. But that one gentleman's account and his personal story, I don't think that he would throw it out there if it was false. And there's even it just sucks. It sucks because this is one of those things where Naughty Dog is one of my favorite developers. I would have said they
Yep.
probably have they're above criticism, but they
Mhm.
are apparently not, and I was
No.
wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone needs to be looked at, even when you're making millions and millions of dollars and making hits and amazing games.
I definitely agree. And so speaking of Sony, we'll end our scouting report, our news here, with a little bit of some PlayStation 5 tech that they talked about this week. And so the big things is that Sony's hardware, their GPU and their CPU, they are going to run on variable frequencies. And so basically what that means is they can shift power back and forth to each other on the fly. So if the GPU needs more power, the CPU can provide it, etc., the other way around. Their SSD is going to allow much faster loading times. So we talked about this at the beginning of the pod. So their example is a level in Spider-Man, which takes 8 seconds on the PS4, would take 1 second on the PS5. It's, big scale down. Both are still under 10 seconds. I don't know, right? And so the way it boils down, I think this is kind of the end result that you and I kind of got to, is that Xbox has the PS5 beat on raw numbers. It's more powerful, but then also the PS5 is sort of more fast, not more fast, good Lord. It's faster, based on some weird solid state wizardry that they're doing with like the way it's caching data, right?
People that are much smarter than me have boiled it down to that on Twitter, and I trust the tech heads out there that actually understand all these numbers. But there seems like there's a very small difference, and in your head, I mean, do you care more about power, or do you care more about speed?
I think I probably care more about power ultimately, right? I think power is going to have the lasting impression over the course of a console versus speed, right? Like I can wait 8 seconds now, like I could wait 8 seconds in, a year or two for a game. What I care more about is if the box has power to make that game look and feel next gen, because neither Microsoft or Sony have given prices for these consoles yet, but I think the rumors are that they're all going to be above $500, right? And so that's a good chunk of change. And so if I'm paying that, I want the game to look and feel next gen. And if that means I have to wait 8 seconds versus 1 second, so be it. I'd rather power than speed. What about you?
Yeah, I think power. I'm power, just because
Yeah.
that's stability. And after playing through Ori and the Will of the Wisps, I really need a lot more power. It's clear it's what I need.
Ugh,
I'll wait to get there, however long, as long as
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 long
long
as
as
it
it's
looks
good.
good when you get there.
Yeah. Dear God, please, I'm begging you.
Ugh,
And I think just
ugh.
our last little piece about Sony here, unless you have anything, is that there are heavy rumors that they are looking into buying the Konami franchises. Now, this could be a thing where they license them out, just like they licensed the Spider-Man IP from Marvel to make that Spider-Man game. But I
Yep.
do believe that like they might be fully looking to acquire the Konami franchises. I can't fathom why Konami would sell those franchises. But
Oh,
there's been a lot of rumors of Kojima doing another Silent Hill game. He can't do
oh,
that unless he gets permission from Konami. If
right.
Sony's like, "Hey, Kojima, like we're just gonna buy all the franchises that you missed or that are yours and bring them into the house, bring them into the fold, and then you do what you want with them." And then he can make another Metal Gear game, and then we can get Castlevania to be good again.
Right.
Maybe we could get like Parasite Eve or Front
Oh my
Mid, just
gosh.
like something in that vein. I don't know. We'll see.
Can you imagine, like, if they went out and just straight up bought those franchises? Like, obviously, Sony and Kojima already have a pretty good relationship with Death Stranding and how like highly marketed and like
Hmm.
touted that game was, right? If they went and bought all these franchises, the level of first party games that PS5 would have in the pipeline would be massive. It would be insane.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Kojima and his Kojima Productions is a second party Sony studio, right? Not first party yet,
Yeah,
or is
yeah.
it
To
first
my
party?
knowledge, they're their own deal. They just work with Sony quite a bit. I
Okay,
don't think that they are like a Sony studio yet.
gotcha. So if they buy all these franchises and they're just like, "Hey, Kojima, here's a ring. Let's just wrap this thing up. Let's get in
Yeah,
bed
exactly.
together." Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that that's a smart play.
that's the next
But
step.
also, if they can, in a very Disney way, complete another piece on their Infinity Gauntlet, I think Sony has to go for it. They just got to do it, right?
That is basically what it feels like at this point, right? Is that they're
No,
just collecting them. It's just it's just the president of PlayStation Studios with the gauntlet dropping in the little stone that says Kojima, and he's like, one to go.
yeah, yeah, and I feel definitely that those are the franchises you'd want to go after. Silent Hill, horror franchise.
Yeah,
Castlevania, there's a lot you could do in that. You could do a platform adventure game. You could do
yeah,
an open world Zelda like. I mean, there's
yeah.
so much you could do
That
with
Castle.
Castlevania,
Oh, agreed.
especially with the anime popping off right now on Netflix. So there's a lot of options there, and of course, like giving Metal Gear Solid, like they haven't had anything like that. Like SOCOM and Siphon Filter have
Mm,
been gone for so long
right.
that them owning Metal Gear makes me sad because then I'll never see Siphon Filter ever again in my life. But yeah, it's so weird because like Splinter Cell, Dormant, SOCOM, Siphon Filter, all those franchises that are very similar, super just silent for the last few years. So
Yeah, it's been
Metal
very
Gear kind of
quiet.
took all that air and
Yeah, sucked it out of the room, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gone now.
Speaking of sucking things out of the room, it's time for me to give a game pitch this week, right? It's my
Hmm.
turn.
Are you gonna wait? You said speaking of sucking things out of the room, is this pitch gonna suck?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me set the scene in this sort of quarantined, shut down, shelter in place world, right? I'm in Colorado, and so we haven't got an official shelter in place order yet, but we do have a lot of non-essential places closed. I feel like most of the country is at that spot now. And so one thing that we did get, our governor opened it up for restaurants and bars to have alcohol to go. I don't know if you've heard this, but
Wow.
yeah, so you can go there's a place right around the corner from my house called Salsa Brava. It's a cool local spot, which anyone listening, support your local businesses right now. Anyway, so Salsa Brava, right? They're kind of like Mexican fusion-y food, and they're advertising right now. If you buy an entree, you can get a 2-liter thing of their house margarita and a bottle of tequila mixed in for $20 right now to go. Like, you just get a to-go jug of margaritas with an entree. And their sister restaurant, which is right next door, it's a breakfast spot called Urban Egg, is doing a breakfast version of that. So if you get a breakfast entree to go, right? Because you can't sit in, everything's to go right now. So if you get a breakfast entree to go, you can get a mimosa kit for $20. And I've seen so many places that are like, yeah, like, stop by, we'll give you booze to go, right? And there's obviously like rules in place to make sure people aren't like drinking and driving, and like the packaging is there. But it's amazing. And so it got me thinking, like, I think part of the reason why we're seeing that is because Colorado has this massive craft brew economy, and we have a really big like booze scene. We have a lot of really great
Hmm.
whiskey distilleries, and we have like a moonshine place that's extremely popular just north of the Springs in Monument. And so kind of what I thought is, in the vein of sort of like a simulator, so like if you think like a Zoo Tycoon or like Roller Coaster Tycoon, right, where you have to like run these operations and like simulate it, how interesting could it be right now to have like a craft brew sort of like simulator where you like are running this brewery or like a whiskey distillery, right? Like, if it's me, I'd be playing it as a whiskey distillery because I love whiskey. And like, you're running what would normally just be like this game of, you're making the whiskey and you have to like optimize it and make flavors and like, how's the business output? But then like also you have this front end like to go storefront now that you also have to like manage, right? So it's very much like a roller coaster tycoon where you're like building the theme park and like you have the business and the visitors you have to manage, but you're like doing it all around like whiskeys, and you're doing it where it's like you have to have the back end sense to like make the product and also like support like the customers and like sell booze to go, like have you can like make your front end not only sell finished bottles, but like you could create in-game like craft drinks with your product that could like boost your revenue, or like maybe they're a flop and like you have to figure out like how to save face, right? So like that's kind of my rough pitch. I know it's not the best, dear
No,
listeners.
no, no.
I
I like
appreciate.
it.
No, it's okay. You don't have to do that.
JD, I had a name for you too. I have a name for you.
Good, because that is something I don't have.
Okay, so you mentioned it's like Roller Coaster Tycoon. Just
It
call it
is.
On Coasters Tycoon.
Ooh, that's pretty good. Ooh, I like that a lot. Yeah, oh, that's good. That's
Got to put your drink on a coaster, man.
I love it. That's it. On Coaster Tycoon. Anyway, if you're listening and you're on the Stadia team, that is available. That's an idea hot off my brain. And we're ready. We're ready to make that game for you, Stadia. So anyway, Jade, Shannon, sorry we made you listen to this pod for an hour before we got to your product idea. But it's worth it. I guarantee it. It's worth it.
Those two better love Animal Crossing. If they don't, I might have to rethink this whole Stadia stick of ours.
I think they do love it. One thing I don't love is this week's red card. You want to talk about that?
Man, GameStop is tripping, JD.
Oh, they're the worst right now.
And they got shut down for being the worst and universally roasted on the internet. So if you haven't been
Good.
following this, GameStop, they essentially said when I guess all of California is on lockdown, right? They're on like martial law, or like there's just
Shelter
nothing
in place.
shelter
Yeah.
in place. Yes, that's what that's the term you use. So they decided that they wanted to claim that they were an essential business by saying they have keyboards and webcams. And JD, of all the places on the planet, would you have ever been like, you know, where has keyboards and webcams for working from home? Oh yeah, GameStop, where I send my games when they need to die a cold death after I've beat them.
When's the last time you were in a GameStop? Just off the top of your head.
Uh, like February 2nd of this year, probably, but that's because there were multiple GameStops in my area closing, and my roommate wanted to buy an Xbox One X for
For cheap.
like, yeah, it was like $200. But then there was this thing where we realized you could buy the Xboxes for $200, but then sell them to a different GameStop used for like one for 270. So you could like make money on the $400 consoles.
All right. So the last time I was in a GameStop, I wasn't necessarily analyzing the store. I maybe saw one webcam, a single webcam that was available for purchase. And that was maybe like 2 or 3 months ago. And yeah, so to kind of claim that the reason they're staying open is because they have these work from home tools was just a real crappy move. They're far from essential. GameStop managers are being told by their corporate to stay open in California, and then eventually the California governor is like, stop, like we are shutting you down, right?
We're stopping the games, and then
Let
they're just like, no, our bottom line, because
come on.
this is the worst weekend that this could have happened for them, because they stand to lose millions of dollars, and then other people are going to be upset because if you couldn't get out of work on Friday to get there Saturday before the thing shut down,
Yeah,
your copy of Animal Crossing, your fully paid off pre-order of Doom is there, and a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and they were paying off games in installments. That's kind of why GameStop has that pre-order thing. You can come in and
right.
put $10
What
towards your
but
game,
yeah,
put another, put a little bit here and there. And then now that you can't get that thing that you've been waiting for months, for years, for decades, it's crappy.
it is crappy. So you have that on California, and then you fly to the East Coast, and in Pennsylvania, the same thing, right? They're like, hey, all non-essential retail needs to close, and GameStop's like, good thing we're essential. And then the governor of Pennsylvania, I believe, was like, you're not essential. And because you basically defied this rule of safety, I'm pulling your business license. So now in the state of Pennsylvania, they don't have a business license, so they can't legally operate anymore. And so I think between those two things now, they officially announced that as of today that all the stores are going to close and they're going to be shut down during this quarantine time, which is just way too late, right? Like it.
So yeah, I think what we need to do in these tough times, we actually need to figure out Reggie Fils-Aimé's PO box and just send him all the gum, because he has had a rough first week there at GameStop Corporation. Like,
Yeah,
this is like tough times for our guy Reggie.
not a great start to his board of director stay for Reggie.
I do
Yeah,
have a
so
question based around
please.
this. So Doom was able to release early on Thursday. I was seeing like people on Twitter and online, Facebook, all those places saying that GameStop essentially just started dropping Doom at like
Yeah,
7 o'clock on Thursday. And then this eventually started happening with Animal Crossing as well, but it was
right.
even earlier for Doom. Do you think like Reggie had to like make an awkward call to like Doug Bowser, and like Doug Bowser's like, what? And he's just like, look, man, like, here's the thing. He's like, I just need you to release Animal Crossing earlier. And then he's just like, and you just hear like fire in the background. You're like, Bowser, chill. Like,
Come on, please, man. Be cool.
he's like, send a princess.
So that's actually a very interesting point. And it does kind of make sense that if Reggie reached out and used his time at the company and his relationships to be like, hey, like, I think we both stand to lose a lot here, that Nintendo would bend slightly. Because you're right, it wasn't just Doom. There was a lot of people who had said like, hey, I went to GameStop to just inquire what was going on, and they let me pick up my copy like Thursday afternoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I actually like to say I want to rescind the red card slightly for GameStop being cool and letting that stuff out early is kind of there. But ultimately, GameStop, you get the red card this week. Terrible PR, terrible public health crisis that you could be causing by having these crowds coming to your stores for these games. I'm not a fan. I know you're not a fan, Eli. GameStop, you get the red card this week.
Well, and like the opposite of a red card, like maybe because I think a lot of gamers, and we don't want to see anyone lose jobs, but a lot of gamers have a lot of ire for GameStop specifically, and we see them dying this slow death. And a lot of people are saying, "Hey, let's just all go digital so that game costs go down. They don't have the
Right.
manufacturing costs of discs and all that stuff." I know there's a lot of that out there, but this could not have been a worse time for GameStop because I think Doom and Animal Crossing were going to sell a lot of hardware for them. It was going to sell a lot of accessories. It was going to
Yeah.
sell a lot, of course, a lot of games. So this is like one of those like almost secondary Black Friday type things that was going to give them a huge bump or surge, and they lost a ton of it, right? Like they had, I mean, how many people went digital instead, or went to Walmart, or
Oh
a
yeah. I
Target or
mean,
something?
yeah, I bought two digital copies, right? One for my Switch and one for my wife's Switch. So I mean, I absolutely was not in the mood to play with crowds, and I wasn't in the mood to go risk it at a retail store of maybe having enough, maybe not. Could I get it the same day? Not worth it for me. I popped on the eShop
Mm-hmm.
and bought it, and it was downloaded and ready to roll.
They lost. They lost on this one, and this is just kind of like in the same way that E3 is kind of limping.
Yeah,
Like GameStop is
GameStop is.
definitely
Yeah,
vulnerable right now.
I agree. So yep, that's our red card. GameStop. Sorry that things are rough, but you made a terrible call. You made an absolute terrible call.
I made a terrible call too. I'm a little wounded. You can kick me while I'm down. This is one of our penalties. Our penalty kicks. Just dig into me, JD.
So I don't think we've had a penalty yet. So in case you guys haven't, you haven't heard it before because we've never done one. Penalties are just kind of our opportunity to make some corrections from previous episodes that we've made before. And this week, it's for you. You mixed up a game and a movie, right?
Yeah, I sucked. I sucked bad. I was talking about EA's A Way Out, which is a cooperative game where you're escaping on the run as two fugitives. And I said A Way Back, which was a movie I recently reviewed starring Ben Affleck, who stole Anna de Armas from me, so I hate him forever now.
I think that is there some way that subconsciously you mix them up on purpose so that we could do this penalty so you could publicly state that you hated him?
No, no, I just had Affleck on the brain. I've been planning my
Look on
Affleck
the brain.
attack. Yeah, I've been planning the Affleck attack for a while. It is actually bad that I'm probably saying it on the pod now for everyone to hear. Sorry, FBI. So if you see Ben Affleck conspicuously missing, it was I.
Well, perfect. And that makes me an accessory to this crime. And I think with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, everyone, for listening. There are a ton of ways that you can get in touch with us on Twitter at GamePitchPod. I'm at J to the D, and Eli is at Mario RPGino. We're both on Instagram at J to the D, at that guy _ Eli. You can email us at gamepitchpodcast@gmail.com, and you can come visit our islands. Maybe we'll tweet out our friend codes, and you guys can come spend some virtual time with us, steal all of the fruits on our island. Eli, anything else to say?
Yeah, man. Defile my isle. Pillage my village. Let's go.
All right. Well, I don't think we needed to hear that. Thanks again for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next week.